We live and we breathe this beautiful dream. We are kings, we are queens.
I speak of the African.
The movement for reparations is centuries in the making, carrying forward the voices of our ancestors and guided by generations of visionary leaders. Its promise is more powerful today than ever before. We will now hear from speakers whose reflections illuminate the state of reparations across local, state, and global movements. To begin, as I said before, very honored to introduce a pillar in our reparations movement, the Professor Dr. Ron Daniels. We got more, hold on, I gotta say a little more about you first. Dr. Daniels is a founder and president of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, a progressive African-centered, action-oriented resource center dedicated to empowering people of African descent and marginalized communities under his convening leadership. Formed NAARC. NAARC has devised a 10-point reparations program and provides staunch support to H.R. 40, the congressional bill that would establish a national commission to study reparations proposals for African Americans. Most recently, he was appointed to the New York State Community Commission of Reparations Remedies. We will hear more from members of the commission. Veteran social and political activist Dr. Ron Daniels was an independent candidate for president of the United States in 1992. He also worked on the campaign for president of Jesse Jackson. Dr. Daniels served as the Southern Regional Coordinator and Deputy Campaign Manager. He has served as Executive Director of the National Rainbow Coalition and was the first African-American Executive Director of the Center for Constitutional Rights. Please help me welcome my elder, Baba, Dr. Ron Daniels.
All right. Well, it's been a great program, wonderful program. First of all, take my notes out. As a young activist, I have to make sure. Let me forget that. Can I, first of all, get permission from my elders to speak? Oh, well, anyway, all right. On a serious note, on a serious note, let me first of all just do a quick piece on roll call. Don't blame Robin, you can blame me. Because Robin asked whether we could do this or not, and I said, yes, we can do this, because I saw it done before. But it presupposes that you follow the discipline. Name, organization, and city, and boom, 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 boom. So anyway, it rolled okay and so forth and so on, but I think it's a great thing for everybody to know each other, get a quick introduction, but you have to do it a certain way. So I take responsibility, I take blame for any longevity. People say, why are they talking so long? Because I take responsibility for it. Not Robin, that was on me. Now let me be quick because this is a very special occasion. On a serious note, but a celebratory note. This is, I saw in the program, the 5th anniversary Symposium. And that's very, very crucial in terms of where we are in this reparations movement. And I'm going to speed through this because I have really, I swell up really thinking about where we are and how we got here. So it is said that, you know, if you don't know your history, any road will lead you there. And so it's important to know a little bit about that history. Because this didn't happen in a vacuum. It didn't just sort of like happen. It happened because there was someone who had within them the spirit and the vision and the courage to step so forward and say, there is something wrong in this city that I have grown in and love in terms of the wealth gap. People are leaving and there's something wrong. Now, a lot of people, like get those feelings, but they don't act on those feelings. But we had someone who acted on those feelings. And that person was Robin Rue Simmons. But it's more important than that, because we also had a seed that was already planted here. And she reflected on that, and she honored the work that had already been done by Judge Lionel, Judge Jean-Baptiste, who's not here. Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste. And so I will never forget, and Keenan, you may not recall this, that, we were meeting in session in our annual forums, and rushing into that forum, we had every year around H.R. 40, was this visionary who came at the behest of Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste. And she came and she had enough, and I believe in this. You do what you can do, but if you don't know something, sometimes you have to say, well, can I get a little help? Can I get a little aid, a little assistance in doing this? Powerful enough, but humble enough to say that. So she came. We sat down and we talked about it, and we tried how to figure it out. And I said, well, you got a budget? Well, no, ain't no budget. I said, oh, Lord, I'm missing. We ain't got no budget. I said, well, anyway, we're going to figure it out. Because it was right, it was the right thing to do. You cannot resist a call like that. You figure it out. I call it on guts and faith. You can get it done. And so fortunately, within the National African American Reparations Commission, we had people who could make it happen, not the least of which was Dr. Ivor Carruthers, who was right here from this community. And that was very, very important, too, and I'm going to try to get through as quick as I can, because as you recall, Dr. Carruthers, Robin was saying, I don't know what's going on. I can't get some of the people and the leaders in the community. They ought to know reparations is ready right now. And she was ready, fired up and ready to go. And Dr. Ivor said, well, it's all right. Be a little patient. Let me make some introductions to some people in the community who can help make it happen. And also, we had right here none other than Kamm Howard, who was here within COVID. And then we reached to the city of Washington, D.C., to that lady who was the Black Power attorney who always can put reparations on fire, and Keisha Taifa, right? And we pulled together an assessment team to come and find a way to help the industry of Evanston to move that process forward. Now we have a team that includes Justin Hansford and Dr. Julianne Malvo. And so quickly, this was one of the most memorable occasions in my life. There was a discussion about reparations, and when you rolled up into the city for one of the events, which was a town hall meeting that had nearly 1,000 people in Evanston, you rolled up, you would have thought that you would have thought that the President of the United States was up in here. I mean, you was getting clearance. There was sirens, the lights flashing everywhere. I said, what is going on here? What was going on was that reparations was about to break out here in Evanston, Illinois. And what we did was we came to educate and also to learn, to educate and learn. And as you recall, we went to our elected officials. The current mayor's not here, but we needed to give him a round of applause in absentia because he was for the proposition. We sat around those tables and we talked to it, and then our beloved sister, the councilwoman Rainey, who was here, right? She was a staunch supporter. She was in there, a white woman who was in there, standing side by side with Robin. And then Councilman Braithwaite and others. And we went around the community and we met with elected officials. And then we met with stakeholders. I will never forget that round table that we had in the community with all those stakeholders in there. Every sector, not just all the activists, every sector was represented in that round table that we had. And then we decided, okay, that we will come back, and we made a preliminary assessment and said, we'll help you, we'll work with you. Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste organized a committee that met, I think, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, whatever it was, working with Robin. And her patience grew, and her strength grew. And then you had people working on city council together. And everything was unfolding because Evanston was about to make history. and to make history because the vision which she incubated was being nourished, and she was receiving input from people from all over the community. And then the word came down eventually that Evanston had actually passed the resolution to have reparatory justice here in Evanston, Illinois. Why was that important? Because as someone who was mentored by Queen Mother Moore, many of our generation, we knew that one of the hardest things was to first and foremost, to some degree, our own self-repair, our own belief was important. Some people say, but it's small. The question wasn't whether it was small. The question was, it was reparations. It has meant all over the world. I am telling you, people from all over the world, all of a sudden, had a sense of possibilities. Reverend Jesse Jackson says, keep hope alive. Evanston gave people hope that reparations was possible. And so I want to close by just saying that, we need to just honor the Rosa Parks of reparations movement, Robin Ruth Simmons, for her courage and her vision. We need to honor all of those stakeholders too, however. Those nameless people who just are in the community, who themselves were finally got together and who truly believed, and even those who didn't believe, because they sharpened our ability to analyze and to move the preparation. We need to also give them a sense. And then there was this whole notion of, we're going to take it even step further. Not only will we have a symposium, that was a conscious decision that was made to have this gathering every year, because we didn't want Robin to have to run all over the world, being hither and thither. You could all come here to learn and share, not because there's some hegemonic sectarian proposition here. We know that you will move things in a certain way because we and NAARC certified that Evanston was a replicable model, but it was flexible, it was adaptable. And so that was very important to lay that out in terms of the possibilities that could happen. But then we went a step further. She went a step further. First of all, she's a genius. Not only does she do this, she's a scholar, and she knows how to build stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know how to do one or two things. She is actually a developer. She is a contractor. That's just bad. You understand what I'm saying? She knew how to do a whole bunch of things. So she said, we're going to create a national resource center. Have you been over there? It is absolutely amazing what has been created right here in Evanston, Illinois. And so my final shout out to is the ordinary people. Because every time I come, I have to let people know that when you're here, sometimes you don't know the history that you're making. You don't know what the possibilities are. But a big shout out to all of the citizens and all of the people, all of the allies here in Evanston, Illinois, who made this possible. Because you made it possible. And because you made it possible, Evanston is the epicenter of the reparations movement, not only here, but globally. Not again in any narrow sense, but it is that place that we can come and we gather to understand that, as Professor Hilary Beckles has said, reparations will be the human rights struggle of the 21st century. And that's what we're involved in. That's what we celebrate. We ought to all stand and give Robin a big round of applause, and all of you give yourself a big round of applause for the history that we have made. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those profound remarks, Dr. Daniels. Every year you tell the story of what happened in Evanston, and every year you tell it better and better. All right. And again, they got some words for me to say about Robin Ruth Simmons, but I think that Dr. Ron Daniels really just gave the best introduction. So we're just going to go ahead and bring you up right now and stand up one more time and clap it up and recognize our Rosa Parks of the reparations movement, Robin Ruth Simmons.
Thank you, Brother Jumoke, my advisor. Thank you for those kind and encouraging words, Dr. Daniels. I'm going to talk more about Evanston tomorrow in my remarks. So thank you. Grace and peace, reparations family, and welcome to the 5th Annual National Symposium for State and Local Reparations. Welcome to my home, Evanston, Illinois, to my village, to the multiracial democracy that is the birthplace of this reparations initiative that you've heard mentioned. It's one that has inspired national momentum and international interest. Among the hundreds gathered here, we are 80 unique reparations initiatives, representing 42 communities and descendant communities. 10 state efforts are represented here tonight: California, Illinois, Maryland, Nebraska, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, Oregon, and Washington. I didn't even know there were 10 now. I stand before you confident, not just in our future victories, but in our present power. The power we hold is more organized, better informed, it's intergenerational, and we are working towards operational unity. 5 years ago, less than 50 of us convened at my church, Faith Temple Church of God in Christ. That historic convening would not have been possible without the tireless leadership, mentorship, partnership, and material support, that's also very important, of Dr. Ron Daniels. Dr. Daniels, thank you for your support. Thank you for your grace, your investment in me as an emerging leader, your investment in FirstRepair, and in the liberation of people of African descent from New York to Haiti to the continent and all across global Africa. Thank you to the entire NAARC Commission for your leadership and your partnership in this symposium that you're co-convening. Your invaluable contributions to this movement, in particular the 10-point plan that has been a guide for many of us. How many folks are referring to the 10-point plan in their work? By a round of applause. Learn more about it if you're not. I'd like to ask the NAARC commissioners, past and present, to stand and be recognized. We have Dr. Julianne Malvo, we have Dr. Ivor Carruthers, Kamm Howard, Professor Justin Hansford, Attorney Nkechi Taifa. We have Dr. Robert Turner was here and left. I also want to recognize NAARC staff, Sister Pauline, if you could please stand, and Brother Louis. I just saw you sit down, stand up. This is the NAARC team, the professionals behind NAARC. To our elders, our living libraries, our North Stars, our teachers, thank you. Thank you for your courage that has carried us through eras far less safe to demand reparations. Thank you for your scholarship, your organizing, your faith, your memory. You've made this moment possible. We honor you not only for the battles you fought, but for the strategies you have sharpened, the lessons you have preserved, and the love you poured into generations that followed. Elders, your presence is not symbolic, it is necessary. You built the tables we sit at today. Will all of our elders please stand if you can and be recognized so that we may properly honor you. Thank you. These are my teachers. To the FirstRepair board, I think we have 100% attendance, which I'm really proud about. Some stepped out. Your critical thought leadership and valuable experience and generosity are foundational to our work. Will you please stand and be recognized? Brother Kamm Howard, we have Elisa Walker that is here. We have Dr. Julianne Malvo, Casey Varela, Matt Feldman, Dr. Akinyele Umoja, Baba A.K., Tanika Lewis-Johnson, Courtney Jones. Thank you. This is the infrastructure behind FirstRepair. To Amber and Casey of Stapled Events, thank you for your precision in stewarding this gathering for another year. A special thank you to Zia Mora of Orrington Hilton. Is Zia Mora in the room? Probably not. For the extra care over the last 4 years, we're very demanding, and I want to give you an example. We demanded a culturally appropriate meal, right? And so they pulled up a chef in the kitchen to executive chef our meal for us. So a brother from the Caribbean, I don't know his name, you did an excellent job in curating our meal. We would have had it no other way, and thank you for making that accommodation. And the many Black businesses that partner with us. In this room, we have Most High Entertainment on video. House of Watts is doing our AV. Stapled is doing our events. Siobhan Ransom is doing our social media. I say this to say, in government, so many times they say we couldn't find a Black vendor. You can find a Black vendor to do everything. Sole source is not necessary. And lastly, the FirstRepair family, my FirstRepair family, your discipline, your creativity, and your commitment to operational excellence powers this movement daily. It is a great joy and a privilege to work with each of you and to watch you show up with new brilliance and deeper commitment each day. I love you. I love you. I love you for real. Will you please stand up and introduce yourselves? The State of the Local Reparations Movement 2025. This year, our resolve has been tested, yet our unity is growing deeper. We are living through cancellation, erasure of Black history, a full-blown attack on democracy, and coordinated legal and political efforts to stop reparations. Yet, we grew in numbers, alignment, and outcomes. This year affirmed that we are strongest when we operate with unity of purpose, clarity of strategy, and synchronized efforts across disciplines. Elders, youth, scholars, policymakers, survivors, faith leaders, and organizers, everyone has a role, and each of our roles are essential. We were faced with political barriers in 2025, new political barriers anyway. Number one, a lawsuit against the city of Evanston. This was a direct attempt to undermine local reparations everywhere. Our response, millions more dispersed, totaling $6.5 million in direct benefits dispersed to Evanston residents. That's right, $20 million has been committed. Disbursements have not been interrupted. Reparative expansion through the Illinois Family Roots Program led by our dear sister, Representative Carol Amons. The Illinois House resolution supports African descendants of enslaved individuals in reconnecting with their ancestral roots, and stronger community support, including a contribution. I'll state a contribution, not a pledge, but a contribution of $1 million from our interfaith Evanston community given to the Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Evanston. That's right. We responded with more solutions, no setbacks. Number two, the United States Department of Justice letter to Asheville, North Carolina. This was an attempt to intimidate a promising model. Asheville's response. The Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Asheville continues to lead as a model community institution, including launching renovations of the historic land transfer. The RSAA Executive Director Tori Garrison stated, "This is not a transaction, it is a bold and deliberate act of repair." Asheville, you are doing it. Unity among ally communities is making progress unstoppable. Number 3, the Tulsa case dismissal. It was a devastating court ruling. Tulsa's response: Justice for Greenwood is advancing new efforts of redress. The Beyond Apology Committee continues to educate, agitate, and organize. Mayor Monroe Nichols launched a $105 million private reparations trust, and we will hear directly from their executive director, Elena Beverly, tomorrow. More about that. And our dear sister, Christy Williams of Black History Saturdays, is empowering Black families with knowledge and intergenerational community building. That's right, Tulsa. Number 4, the Maryland veto. Another sobering moment this year was the unexpected, in some of our cases, unexpected veto of Maryland's state reparations bill by Governor Wes Moore, a governor many believed would be a natural leader in this space. Maryland's response, we're learning more today, is new strategies. Local leaders and state advocates and national partners immediately began to mobilize, and I look forward to hearing more about their mobilizing. But these are models of operational unity under pressure. Across the nation, our movement advanced measurable outcomes. Detroit, Michigan, New Jersey, Fulton County, Georgia, and Lakeland, among other communities, I'm sure, released comprehensive harm reports. Some of them included their proposals. Palm Springs, Section 4 survivors won their landmark survivor-led lawsuit and has already received $5.9 million in direct cash settlements, which is part of a larger $27 million reparations agreement. That's a major win. Interfaith communities expanded reparations support and funding in Evanston, as I mentioned, but also in Boston, in Fayetteville, and in Champaign, Illinois, among other communities. Academic partners, including Baba A.K., Dr. Akinyele Umoja, our own Professor Justin Hansford, Dr. Al Tillery, and others, they help us build capacity, and they help us build our research infrastructure, engage students, and document outcomes. These wins reflect smart planning, and our path forward must be grounded in the same measured approach. The South is a region on the rise. In 2025, the Atlanta Task Force launched, and it launched a robust community-centered process established under the leadership of Dr. Sheila Fleming and our own co-leader, vice chair, Jumoke Ifetayo. And the Beacon Hill Black Alliance Human Rights Group led the passing of, in my opinion, one of the strongest reparations resolutions that I've read. And continuing on, Decatur, Georgia has now established a task force and secured funding. Thank you, Sister Councilwoman Lisa Meyer Frank, for your leadership and being led by your community. I remember meeting with you now about 4 years ago. It's my fault. I love it. I'll take the blame. And thank you for leading your city council members in a unanimous vote in Georgia. Yes, in Georgia. That's right, sis. This year also marked a new level of coordination between local leaders and congressional partners. Coordinating was long overdue and now is unmistakably underway. Primarily the leadership of the Why We Can't Wait coalition, we were aligning strategies across municipalities, state, and federal arenas with greater intention. Local harm reports are informing federal briefings. Congressional champions are using their platforms to amplify community-led models. And local commissions are engaging in direct, sustained conversations with members of Congress committed to advancing a national reparations legislation. We're maturing as a movement, strengthening the connective tissue between our city halls and Capitol Hill. It is no longer parallel work. It is becoming shared and coordinated work, because repair at any level brings us closer to repair at every level. Reparations is policy and culture. Both are essential. This year, the Bliss Collective advanced narrative power and healing through art. New documentaries were elevated, as a young brother mentioned. Please go see it tomorrow. Historical truth and public understanding through these new documentaries. The Reckoning, Freedom Songs for Reparations, is demonstrated how culture can shift public will faster than policy alone. This album is streaming everywhere. Please download it and share. It will be performed live tomorrow by some of the artists on the album. Intergenerational leadership made these efforts possible. Elders anchoring memory, youth illuminating vision, artists carrying our emotional truth, and scholars grounding us in evidence. The movement continues to grow along 4 interconnected pathways: local, state, national, and global. We are the local arm of a global movement. Know that. I want to tell you something that Sir Hilary Beckle said when he was here. He said that the United States is at the vanguard of the reparations movement. He was here in Evanston and he said that. This ecosystem will continue thriving if, and that is if, we practice unity. Continued learning, so important. Clear communication, shared strategy, and action-oriented collaboration. As we begin this symposium, I invite us to a higher level of discipline and unity. Unity rooted in purpose. Operational unity that aligns our actions, our voice, and our outcomes. Intergenerational knowledge sharing to keep the work grounded in experience and powered by new ideas. Smart action planning, because implementation is where we win. And a solutions-only mindset, because our communities deserve it. This gathering is a strategy table. It is a movement laboratory. It is a demonstration of what coordinated leadership looks like. The momentum is real. Trust and believe. Onward.
Thank you, Robin, for those words, for your inspiration, your leadership, and your vision, and your passion and commitment. Thank you. As we turn our attention to the movement for federal reparations, guided by our North Star, H.R. 40, it is my honor to welcome Dresien Heath. Dresien Heath is a capacity builder and a reparations policy architect, actively providing strategic advice, programmatic support, and technical assistance to the reparations process in over 25 jurisdictions. She serves as the co-chair of the Public Education and Narrative Committee of the New Jersey Reparations Council. Dresien is also the founder of the Why We Can't Wait Coalition, a coalition of over 100 organizations supporting reparations. Previously, Dresien led the Human Rights Watch racial justice and reparations work as a researcher and advocate. In partnership with Congresswoman Cori Bush, she helped author and introduce historic reparations legislation. Dresien has authored significant research reports and publications, including The Case for Reparations in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a human rights argument. Is she? She's coming? Okay. Please welcome Dresien Heath to provide remarks on the state of the national movement.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you. I always try to start any remarks I give by just thanking God that I'm here, that we're alive. No day is promised. So many of our people survived unsurvivable conditions for us to be here. And so I don't take this room for granted. We all traveled either near or far to get here. I also don't take that for granted, especially with no FAA director still installed, and we flying on planes and trains, and here we are. All right. I'm grateful to Robin and the First Repair team for this invitation to be with you all today. I hope you and your team are proud of what you continue to accomplish. I hope you savor the material progress you've made and the seeds that you continue to sow in this movement. Thank you and continue forward. And then I look out at this room and I see some of my mentors, some of my fellow comrades, co-conspirators, legislators, and others. And I see a movement that refuses to be weakened or silenced. Around this time last year, I watched my grandfather, James Urquhart, take his final physical breaths. He was born in Montgomery, Alabama, a city that knows something about Black political struggle and something about liberating victories as well. He served as a deacon, a U.S. Navyman, and a Vietnam War veteran, all with only a high school education. His greatest musical inspiration was Sam Cooke, who spent some of his early years right here in Chicago, singing the words we know oh so well, "A change is gonna come." And I could see my papa toe tapping and snapping right now. But my papa didn't see reparations realized, but he lived a life that demanded it. Also on my mind right now is the late mother survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre who transitioned just days ago at 111 years old. I had the privilege of spending time with Mother Fletcher and fighting alongside her and her family to see real reparations in her lifetime. What I witnessed of Mother Fletcher was grace, charm, a perseverance that carried her around the world demanding justice, not just for herself, but for her family, for thousands of descendants. She testified bravely before Congress. She filed lawsuits. She wrote her story so that they could not bury her or her story. And yet she was denied the experience, the smells, the joys of real justice and reparation in her lifetime. And while her case was dismissed and the perpetrators of these horrific crimes denied her full repair while she was alive, her truth will outlive them all. It is through the spirits of my grandfather and Mother Fletcher that I have the strength to address you today. I know we are all pretty clear about the terrain we are navigating, but context always matters. We are organizing and operating under an authoritarian regime that has declared war on the very concept of Black people's humanness in efforts to achieve reparations, racial equity, and racial equality. This administration has weaponized executive power to obscure access to our basic rights and development of our communities. They have turned the machinery of government against the truth of American history. One might wonder if only we had Democrat-led administrations that used this kind of power for good, for our repair. It was possible, and it still is possible. Consider this current administration's audacity. While descendants of enslaved Africans who built the nation's wealth have been denied comprehensive reparations for over 400 years, this administration fact-tracked refugee status for white South Africans, descendants of apartheid architects, based on debunked claims of persecution. They arrived on government-chartered flights, greeted by State Department officials, while Haitian refugees fleeing real violence facilitated by the U.S. over decades were turned away. I'm not going to stand here and give you every legal, political, policy, or social violation that has happened to us in the last couple years, but this is no coincidence. This is ideology. This is white terror and grievance enshrined as policy. And we are witnessing deliberate disappearing acts against Black expertise. White ring media has adopted our very own talking points, specifically designed to distort our work and fuel white resentment. Traditional race and politics media rooms, as well as those dedicated to Black issues specifically, are being eviscerated, hollowed out, and defunded. They want to control the narrative by silencing those who tell the truth, but here, what they will come to learn to understand is that they simply cannot bury us. And so despite every obstacle, despite the political climate designed to obstruct and distort what we do, we have made undeniable progress this year. And let me be specific, because specificity is how we honor our labor. In January, H.R. 40 and S-40 were introduced in the 119th Congress by Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and Senator Cory Booker. This legislation, first introduced by the Honorable John Conyers in 1989 and carried forward with the fierce devotion by the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, now has a new champion who has declared in her own words that she will breathe a new iteration of life into this movement. In February, during Black History Month and amid the onslaught against federal DEI initiatives, Congresswoman Pressley held a press conference announcing the bill's reintroduction. Standing at that podium were members of Congress alongside Congresswoman Jackson Lee's daughter, Erica Lee Carter, passing the torch while the administration tried to extinguish every flame. In May, we convened a joint congressional briefing for reparative justice, hosted by Senator Cory Booker, accompanied by Representatives Ayanna Pressley, Hank Johnson, and Summer Lee, successfully building a coalition that will carry this reparative justice work forward. Each of these legislators have reparative justice bills, but bringing them together around a strategic, internal, and external reparative justice agenda was a task. This was also made possible by our partners at United by Equity, National Black Justice Collective, Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, and COBRA, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, Black Music Action Coalition, and the U.S. Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Movement. We hope this kind of member coalition and organizational collaboration can be replicated in other settings. We saw the reintroduction in May of the Reparations Now resolution by Congresswoman Summer Lee, previously held by our forever Congresswoman Cori Bush, calling for the passage of H.R. 40 in the Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Commission, and presenting a comprehensive framework for what remedies can actually look like at the federal level. Reparations Now, as a companion piece of legislation, proves a critical point. We can demand full investigations into crimes against our people while simultaneously designing elements of the remedy. The work of investigation and the work of material repair are not always going to be sequential. They are simultaneous and complementary. In June, we joined the National Black Justice Collective, United by Equity, and Black Music Action Coalition in the annual Equity Week, where we engaged dozens of congressional offices on both sides and sent thousands of letters to the administration reiterating our progress and demands. On Juneteenth, we marked another organizational milestone with the reintroduction of H.R. 40 and a congressional staff briefing to inform new staffers about this legislation's rich history. That briefing featured Dr. Ron Daniels, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, Dr. Attorney Crystal Williams, as well as myself. And this is incredibly important because this institutional memory needs to be upheld when turnover and transition is inevitable. And so hundreds of organizations endorsed the legislation and uplifted its importance amidst the Juneteenth holiday. That same week, TRHT was reintroduced, once hailed by Mayor Barbara Lee, and now under the leadership of Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Latifah Simon, and Senator Cory Booker. In September, at the leadership of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, the Congressional Black Caucus convened a roundtable on generational justice and reparations, featuring reparations leaders from jurisdictions across the country. It was a strategic planning and gathering to gather our federal approach, but also, as Robin pointed to earlier, have the local speak to the national and the national speak to the local. All throughout this congressional session, we've been advising the members on their internal strategy and their educational approaches to this work. There is even openness to submit strategic reparative amendments on must-pass congressional bills, such as the big spending bills and appropriation bills that have to get through congressional approval. This is a stealthier way to get some type of remedy instituted into law. It's actually how congressional members, for instance, have passed bills that confirm or facilitate actions by the Department of Interior to take acres of land into trust for the benefit of our Native and Indigenous comrades. And so as they eviscerate traditional media spaces, we continue to brief journalists and storytellers on the efforts happening across the country. We connect them directly with descendants and advocates doing the real work, and so they can be informed and also get the raw takes about what's happening. We are even training student journalists at the University of Maryland to write with a reparative lens, because we know we are not just fighting for today. We are shaping the narrative infrastructure of tomorrow. And so this is what progress looks like under siege: relentless, strategic, and unapologetically forward. So some may still ask, why focus on federal legislation when the political climate is so hostile? And I would just invoke the spirit of the Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who reminded us, without H.R. 40 and S-40 providing the framework for investigative, historical, and contemporary studies, as well as employing recommendations, there would be no New York State Community Commission on Reparations and Remedies. There might not be any an Evanston legislation. There may not be Alameda County Task Force. There may not be a California Reparations Task Force. This federal framework is the foundation upon which local and state efforts have been built. When municipalities and states design their commissions, they look to HR 40 and S40. When they structure their investigative studies, they reference its legislative language. When they examine what remedy might look like, they draw from the possibilities that federal legislation has articulated or that global communities have shown us. And so this is why the local is the national is the global, and why we need to really commit to organizing in this way. Because as we can see, what happens in Evanston deeply affects the conversations in Congress. And what happens in Congress deeply affects how states move and how the United Nations Special Rapporteur frames justice for people of African descent. And what happens at the global level circles provides backing to organizers who can point to international consensus and strategies on reparatory justice. We are not operating on separate tracks. We are one movement across multiple scales, and we must continue to coordinate as such. Before I close, I must honor those who laid the foundation upon which we all stand. Without the organizing work, local and national, by NCOBRA, NAARC, IBW, the December 12th movement, Republic of New Africa, the Malcolm X grassroots movement, and so many others, there would be no movement for reparations as we see it now. These organizations were doing this work when it was unpopular, when it was dismissed, meetings maybe not happening in hotels, but underground. The intellectual infrastructure was built. They cultivated a grassroots base, and they trained the organizers who trained the organizers who are in this room today. And so when Congressman Conyers introduces H.R. 40, it was these organizations and their members who were in the rooms, in the streets, in the community meetings making the case. We do not inherit this movement without inheriting responsibility to honor their labor and continue their legacy, named and unnamed. So what does this moment demand of us? We cannot surrender our national demands. The hostility of this political and social movement does not change what is owed. It does not alter the historical or present record. It does not diminish the moral or legal claim. We do not moderate our demands because the opposition is loud and effective at their destruction. We do better by each other and sharpen our tactics. Second, we must organize across scales with intention. Your local task force is connected to federal legislation, is connected to global human rights frameworks. Build those bridges, share that information, coordinate those strategies. In this next year, for every local and state reparations task force, there should be at least one corresponding federal bill that is introduced on behalf of your community's reparative needs in Congress. Similar to how we've done in Tulsa with the Tulsa Greenwood Claims Accountability Act, held by Representative Johnson, and the Original Justice for Living Survivors Act, held by Representative Green. We have the tools and capacity to make this work. Third, and I want to speak directly to anyone who has felt like an outsider to this work. To be in the reparations movement and influence federal, state, or local legislation, you do not need a special pass or special credentials. What you need is a deep love and appreciation for Black people. What you need is a commitment to ethics and shared values. What you need is a willingness to use and grow your best skills, contributing them directly to the movement's progress. If you have those things, you belong here. I've considered on multiple occasions on leaving this space or taking a break from this space, even though I've been effective and have been called to lead. But I believe ultimately our movements are only as healthy as we are individually and collectively. And I also think our greatest task is not the external reparations we are demanding, but the internal healing, accountability, and repair we must do amongst ourselves. That is the real work. And by avoiding this work, we are destined to always come up short in our calls for justice. We must do better. This moment also calls for us to be audaciously innovative and imaginative beyond our own belief. It calls for incredible discernment and intentionality when building alliances. It calls for multiple strategies to always be on the table. And it calls for a recognition that there's no one leader, no one narrative, no one policy, no one framework, no one campaign, no one strategy that will singularly deliver the reparative future we deserve. So let our work continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dresien, for that powerful assessment of our national movement. You've given us a clear sense of how we need to move, how far we've come, and what else is left to be done. At this time, I have the honor of introducing my brother, comrade, Brother Kamm Howard. As we expand our focus from the national landscape to the global movement for reparatory justice, his leadership and expertise are essential. Kamm Howard is a thought leader. Dr. Ron Daniels, and I call him and others, an international reparations scholar and activist for over 20 years of experience building grassroots movements of African descent in the United States. He served as the national co-chair of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, where he developed and led significant actions advanced in the fight for redress. He currently serves as a commissioner on the National African American Reparations Commission, also known as NAARC, where he's led to efforts to revise H.R. 40, the federal bill to establish a commission to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans. Kamm Howard also serves on the boards of FirstRepair and the African American Redress Network, and the descendants of St. Louis University enslaved to SLU. Please join me in welcoming my brother, comrade, Kamm Howard, who will provide remarks on the state of the global reparations movement.
I'm sorry, Brother Leon, but you're going to have to wait, brother. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. Many of you know those are the words of Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., the chairman of the Illinois chapter, or the deputy chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. Chairman Fred and thousands of others claimed that identity at a time when the entire world was in revolutionary mode. China was deep into its cultural revolution after having defeated Britain, France, and Japan in its anti-colonial wars. You may recall, some of you may recall, that Chairman Mao's Red Book was studied, and his revolutionary theory was studied by the Black Panther Party in Oakland. Dozens of African countries on the African continent were waging liberation struggles against European colonial regimes: Algeria, Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, Ethiopia, Sudan, and the Congo. In Central America, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Guatemala was waging armed struggle. The same in South America with Bolivia, Grenada, and Colombia. Cuba and the Dominican Republic were battling in the Caribbean, and in Asia, Vietnam, we know something about Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia, and the Philippines were also waging liberatory struggles. And lastly, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, and Palestine were also in revolutionary struggle. All of these nations in revolutionary struggle, all at the same time. So when Chairman Fred stood up and said, "I am a revolutionary," he did it in the context that he knew he was not only waging a revolutionary campaign in Chicago or in the state of Illinois, where his leadership covered, or not even a national reparation effort in the United States, but he understood, as most did at that time, that he was a force within a global force for justice that had to be waged militarily. Because at that time, the powers that be only understood military violence. And that it was military might was how the European states maintained their domination. Thus, armed struggle was the only way to eliminate colonial power. Like in the 1960s and 70s, global Africa today is engaged in a current revolution. Global Africa is a term championed by the Honorable Sir Hilary Beckles of the CARICOM Reparations Commission to refer to African people or people of African descent anywhere on the planet or everywhere on the planet: the continent of Africa, North, Central, South America, Asia, Europe, Australia, Pacific Islands, and the Caribbean. Collectively, we all make up global Africa. So global Africa is engaged in revolution right now, and we, you, us, here in this room today are a part of that revolution. For collectively, as I stated, we all make up global Africa. This revolution is not a militant revolution. so y'all don't need to be scared. But it's just as much as a movement for global justice and revolutionary change as the armed struggles that were being waged at the time that Chairman Fred made that declaration. In the 70s, the call was for liberation, freedom, uhuru. Today, we are in the midst, today the call is for reparatory justice, reparations now. We are in the midst of a global reparations, you, we, us here today. All over the world, forces are assembled to demand reparatory justice. On every continent, in every geographic region where black people are organized, there's a reparations struggle being waged. Not only is it from the ground, from grassroots organizations and civil society organizations like those that are represented here, but governments have joined this battle, and in some cases are leading this battle, like the CARICOM Community of States, AKA CARICOM, through its CARICOM Reparations Commission. And now, even the African Union and the 54 African states that it represents have joined this struggle and have declared 2025 the year of reparations for Africa and people of African descent, and they're extending that to 10 years, to a decade. In South America, Brazil, the country in the West that has the largest African descendant population, 100 million African descendants. And in Colombia, the third largest black population in the West, second, third behind the United States, with 20 million people of African descent. Both of those nations have national reparations commissions. That list in South America is growing. In addition to nations, international bodies have adopted this call for reparatory justice, what I'm calling revolutionary reparations. The United Nations, beginning with a fight, Mama Iva, that we waged here in 2016, declared for the first time that the U.S., in order for the U.S. to fulfill its human rights obligations, it must engage in reparations. Last year, the Working Group of Experts of People of African Descent and the Committee for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination both held conferences declaring reparatory justice as central to the global justice and human rights agenda. And the Permanent Forum of People of African Descent has also taken up this mantle. Everywhere on the planet, because black people are everywhere on the planet, we are demanding justice. We are demanding reparatory justice. Today, every month, somewhere in the world, a major reparations conference is being held. In March of this year, the Global Circle for Reparations and Healing, which I'm a co-convener, Dr. Daniels was an inaugural co-convener, Robin's a co-convener, Dr. Joy DeGruy-Leary is a co-convener, Dr. Anola Eric, the co-convener. We held a reparations and healing summit in Ghana. I was invited to a conference in Brazil in April. 2 months ago, Dr. Daniels led a delegation of the Global Circle to Ethiopia. Last month, representing the Global Circle, Robin attended a major conference in London. Also last month, there was a major global reparations festival held in Kenya. Last week, I was invited to Algeria. Right here, right now, in Evanston, we are attending a major global African reparations conference. And we must see ourselves in that fashion. Thank you, FirstRepair. Thank you, NAARC. On Saturday, I'll be boarding a plane to Togo, West Africa. Reparatory justice has been fought everywhere. No one who is serious about this issue can claim that global Africa is not in revolutionary mode. And just like the anti-colonial struggles that were waged and guided by revolutionary theory in the past, the reparatory justice revolution that we are waging today must also be waged and guided by revolutionary theory. To that end, I wrote this pamphlet, 5 Essential Pillars of a Global Reparations Front, that has been distributed globally. This is not, in this pamphlet, the single pamphlet, the entire theory of revolutionary reparations, but essential elements of this global movement that all of us should be aware of. And in our collective awareness, our collective power ensues. I do not have the time, because I want Brother Rogers to get paid. I do not have the time to go through all of the 5 pillars in detail, but I will enumerate them here. I have a few copies that I have available, hard copies. I have a QR code. If you want to download it to your phone, I can give you that. It'll be around here. I had the fortune 2 months ago to deliver this presentation in Ethiopia. And the leading intellectual powerhouse in the global reparations movement, Sir Hilary Beckles, was in the audience, as well as June Sumer, who was a former chair of the Permanent Forum of People of African Descent. And at the conclusion of my presentation, and Dr. Daniel can attest, Sir Hilary Beckles gave me the universal symbol of triumph. Because he understood that we can triumphantly move forward this global reparations movement if we all are standing on the same principles on which to make this happen. Pillar number 1, the purpose of reparations. The 1928 Charles factory case is a leading international law position on reparations, and it stated that reparations must, quote, wipe out all consequences, unquote, of the criminal act. When we move in this effort, we must understand that our goal is to wipe out all consequences of the illegal act of the transatlantic slave chattelization wars, I should call it, and all its ensuing crimes that were committed. Number 2, the foundation of our global reparations demand, no matter where we are on the planet, is that the chattelization wars, or what they call the transatlantic slave trade, enslavement, colonialism, apartheid, what they call Jim Crow in this country, all of them were crimes against humanity. And crimes against humanity have no statute of limitations. This country and its colonies were existent, and the United States colonies formed the United States Corporation that exists today. And those crimes were inherited. Those actions were inherited in the colonial time, and they created their own crimes. And so those crimes must be redressed under international law if there's continued injury. The country or entity that engages in crimes against humanity is obligated to redress those crimes. Obligated to redress those crimes. The forms of reparations. Here, America is leading in this regards. We took it upon ourselves in 2014 to make full reparations the international standard for reparations in the United States. As a leader of NCOBRA, we took upon that task. The most powerful line in H.R. 40 is that the proposals must, quote, comport with the international standard of full reparations and special measures. And we know full reparations has 5 components: cessation, insurance, and guarantees of non-repetition, restitution, compensation, satisfaction, and rehabilitation. So collectively, where we at on this planet, we're saying that the forms of reparations that we produce must be formed out of this standard, out of this global standard, and we're standing on that. For the offenders of our African humanity, there were many actors complicit in the criminal actions against our ancestors and against us today. Not only governments, but corporations, institutions, and prominent families. They all must pay. And 5, the necessity that our struggle is a collective principle struggle. We must operate from principle to unity in this struggle. We cannot leave any entity solo to bear the full brunt of any colonial power or federal government powers' actions. We must stand in solidarity and support and defend and to encourage and lift up all actions globally, nationally, locally. In conclusion, I would not only like to welcome you to Evanston, but I would like to welcome all of you to the revolution. Now, if you like Fred, are like Cam Howard, no, but if you're like Fred Hampton and others, and you too want to declare publicly your commitment to this global revolution, I want you to stand up right now and repeat after me. Now, this is going to be on camera, folks. 3 times, and I'm glad that some of our allies have stood up because they also were part of those anti-colonial struggles that we waged and were part of the revolution in the 60s and 70s. So we welcome you to this revolution. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. Peace.
I am a revolutionary. Thank you, Cam. You do live up to being your title, thought leader and visionary. And we appreciate your deep insight on the global movement for reparations, the global revolution for reparations. We had on the schedule to have a video from Dresien Omar from CARICOM. We're going to make sure that everyone gets a copy of that video. We're not going to screen it at this point. And now let's hear from my co-MC or host, Brother Leon.
Hey, y'all, first of all, I want to say I had a wonderful time sitting here, hearing the names, hearing the legacies of people, and seeing what you guys are doing. Robin, you know, we go back like recliners, down like 4 flat tires. Whenever you need me, give me a call. Whenever you need the voice of 107.5 WGCI, hit me up. You know, as long as I'm there, you there. And I tell people, use me while I'm there, because when I'm gone, you don't know what the next brother gonna do. But you know what I'm gonna do. And Cam, I love your speech, brother. Now, if I go over here and get pulled over by these police because I was out here hollering I'm revolutionary, I'm going to need you to come get me. Don't. Well, hey, Leon, I ain't know that was in here. I ain't know they was going to get you outside. It's too cold to go to jail, okay? Now, I'm a revolutionary. I'm with you, but, you know, they be listening. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we going to get the radio guy. Yeah, now, you know what I'm saying? And my girl, the good doctor, got out of here early, so, you know, I should have slid with her. I wish I could stay, man, but my brother's going to have to finish it out for me. I have a show that I do every week at Bar 10 Doors. It's an open mic, and we encourage artists, not just comedians, poets. Victoria Dehembe, that you all saw play the drums earlier, she comes through often and does her thing. So if you know anybody that has a skill set, the only thing we don't do is rap, because in all fairness, if I let a conscious rapper come up and rap, I gotta let my little brothers that, you know, they reporting their life and what they go through rap. So in order to cut down on all that, I tell them, if you're a great R&B singer and you can sing about doing a drive-by, that's actually very talented. I would like to see how you do a love song about a drive-by. Different type. And brother, I'm not gonna lie, your voice does not match your outfit and what I saw, because when you got up here, I did not expect that smooth, mellow R&B voice. I thought you was gonna be like, we all need to be great. And I was, but Cam, keep your phone on in case they stop me out here, okay, brother? All right, don't even worry about how I got your number. I got it, though. Thank you all. God bless.
Thanks again, Brother Leon, for your work and your comedy and contribution to this forum. Now we will transition into the Reparations Award ceremony. This evening we will recognize leaders across the nation who are driving this work forward. Their dedication, innovation, and steadfast commitment to repair continue to shape the path toward lasting change. This ceremony is an opportunity to honor those who have demonstrated exceptional leadership, strengthened their communities, and advanced movement in meaningful and lasting ways. We're also pleased that Commissioner Josina Morita of the Cook County Board, 13th District, and Urban Planner and Policy Advocate. Commissioner Morita is the first Asian American woman elected to the county board. In 2023, she was named top legislator in leadership by the Illinois Women's Bar Association. Commissioner Morita has additional honors for tonight's recipients. Commissioner Morita will please tell us more about this.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to present some awards, but I also want to take a minute to talk about my sister, Robin Ruth Simmons, who, as you saw, she talks about the work and she talks about other people. So I want to just take a moment to talk a little bit about Robin, because I think you all know all the work that she has done around reparations. She was also my campaign co-chair. So she has not only helped make Black history, she's also helped make Asian American history and continues to change American history. I love you too. I remember first sitting down with Robin, and one thing, she is a visionary, but she's also a doer. And as many of you know, many people can be one or the other. But Robin really does both in a way that very few have been able to do. So I remember sitting down with her and she talked about the fight for reparations. I talked about the Japanese American fight for redress. And you know, we talked about the struggles of being the first, but that the real work is making sure that we're not the last. That's right. And that bond was made and the work has continued. And for 4 years than many elected officials, most elected officials, do in a lifetime. To be here with her and all of you who are building a movement for reparations in this moment that we are living in, barely, right? Where a conversation and action around repair, accountability, equity, and investment couldn't be more important. And so I'm honored to be here and help recognize 3 leaders with you tonight who embody what this movement requires, not just elected officials, but faith leaders and our young people. So as my friend, former Cook County says, that we cannot do this work alone or all at once, that we are in a relay race with the ancestors. And so this set of leaders represents that. And so on behalf of myself and Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, I am honored to present these Cook County resolutions officially in the Cook County record to the honorees tonight. Yeah, and so I know I did 3. Huh? I did 3. Yeah. Okay. So I did the 3 from Illinois. So we have Cook County resolutions for Representative Carol Ammons from Champaign. The Evanston Interfaith Clergy and Leaders. And Hampton University Rising Junior. I know I don't look like it, but I went to Spelman. Elisa Walker for what they have done, what they are doing right now, and what they will continue to do to make reparations real here in Illinois and across the country. So thank you all, and thank you to all of you for the work that you do.
At this time, I would like to bring up our hometown legend from Evanston to give us some closing remarks, Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste.
So all things are cumulative. Robin didn't drop from the sky. Dr.Ron Daniels didn't drop from the sky. Kamm Howard didn't drop from the sky. None of you guys dropped from the sky. You come from someplace. It's cumulative. And somehow, regardless of the fact that they snatched us from the shores of Africa and put us in chains, somehow we survived, right? They put us in those ships. We spent months at the bottom of these ships under all kinds of conditions. Somehow we survived. It took us out of the ships, doused us with water hoses, whatever they threw on us. They sold us to Master Enrique in Puerto Rico. We survived, right? To Master Smith in Jamaica. We survived. To Master Fouché in Haiti. Somehow we survive. It's cumulative, people. It's cumulative. It's cumulative. So we're here again tomorrow. And Robin had wanted me to just welcome you to Evanston. Welcome to Evanston. So, but we spend the time together. And I remember reading or hearing somewhere, I thought it was the last poets who had said, you know, time ain't real know-how, only the rhythm of the rising sun as we move forward, right? So we're here again tomorrow. We continue to do the work. We're here again wherever you go. You continue to do what you have to do. You stay at the barricades because you have to accumulate that gain, that progress, that power. Because your children and your children's children depend on what you do today, right? So let's go on our way, do our thing, enjoy ourselves, and come back tomorrow with more vigor. Good night.